Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to my first indie book review of the year. That's right, my very first read of 2020 was an indie review book because I got really far behind. So let's jump right in. The book I'm reviewing today is Lycan's Blood Queen by Catherine Edward. This is a great guilty pleasure urban fantasy romance all about a young woman in grad school who discovers that there might be something more to her than she thought, and all these supernatural creatures that realize she smells like a vampire, but she doesn't act like one. What is she? And this comes to the attention of the local king of the werewolves, because apparently, yes, it's not just Alpha, now it's King Aaron, and he decides that he has to take her into custody to figure this out. How did a vampire get past his defenses? They are the mortal enemies. And the whole big thing is the growing attraction between Aaron and Mia, and what she is, and what that identity means for the supernatural world as a whole. Now, this is 100% a guilty pleasure. And what I mean by that is there are a ton of moments where there are just strange plot conveniences or it jumps the shark, but I didn't mind because what it did, well, it did very well. So let's jump right into the guilty part of guilty pleasure. Right away, I noticed that our protagonist is slightly generic. And what I mean by that is the book tells you she's in grad school. It doesn't tell you what for. You have no idea what she's in school for, which is strange considering the fact that when you're in grad school for a thing, that's usually one of your high passions because you gotta do a lot of work to get there. But we don't know what it is. She never really mentions it. She just mentions that she has a thesis and she's doing well, but that's about it. Maybe there's an internship involved, but more than that, you just have no idea what she's meant to be in school for. And really, you never actually see her in class. The fact that she's in grad school is basically pointless. She also has a couple human friends that are literally just there to show that she is a normal person, and a female friend that is just there for exposition about the local werewolf king, because the local people still think of him as a king, even though in their eyes he's just this really, really rich businessman. Werewolves aren't known in this world. And that friend, that life goes away pretty quickly once the supernatural stuff starts happening. So, not the best. And really, the first part of this book is probably the weakest part. And even right after Mia is taken to essentially be in the castle under custody, it's still a little iffy because the first other major female character you see is Amelia, who is effectively the romantic rival / not really a rival for Aaron. And she does that thing that a lot of those kind of characters do in romance novels, which is she is very blatantly chasing the male protagonist, essentially. Like, I have never met a woman or heard of a woman in my life that would be that much I'm going to be with him and telling him to his face, you should pick me. Like, I have only ever seen that in fiction. I don't think most women in general are that blunt about their intentions romantically. I don't think it's something we're socially raised to do. Not that, I mean, that's a whole other discussion on whether or not that's, the morality of it. Anyway, I was really annoyed at first. I was like, please tell me these aren't going to be our only two female characters. Thankfully, no. Thankfully, we have some other female characters introduced later on who are sweet and good-hearted and have a good relationship with Mia, and we have other ones that are super strong, and some great female villains. Like, it got a lot better as it went on. And it is slightly insta-lovey, but leaning more towards insta-lust, which I can accept because that is a thing. And the reveals of what Mia is very intriguing. And I used the plural reveals because there's multiple. And things get a little strange. Maybe not quite to the extent of jumping the shark, but not very far away. And there's like 1 or 2 or 3 reveals where I was like, really? But the nice part is that I'll kind of dives into the most interesting part about Mia, and that is what she is comes with a call to the dark side. And it is all about her fighting against that call to the dark side. And that made her more interesting than anything else. generic grad school character who is very careful to not have any specific hobbies or school subjects is one thing, but then when she might low-key be fighting a downward descent into villainy, okay, you have my attention. So that was really intriguing, and like I said, it got a lot better as it went on. And the romance was really nice, much more than I thought it would be going into it, because again, I was like, okay, they seem very close early on, but it's also kind of we're not meant to be together, but we want to be together. What does it mean? And that kind of discussion over should they or should they not pursue this and what it means for the world in general if they pursue it, that was really nice. There's a nice family aspect. Mia's father is still alive, shockingly. Well, her adoptive father. But it had a nice group effort. There was a lot of different points of views, and I love points of views. I especially love getting villains' points of views because that ups the tension so much. I will say that a lot of our minor antagonists' plans seemed pointless. In fact, there were a lot of characters that would be like, I have a plan, and their plan wasn't much of anything. It would either fail in the next 10 pages, or their plan was like, I'm going to have a talk with them, and this talk is the plan. So that was a little whatever for me. And at the beginning, again, Mia was also very weak and demure on top of being generic, because like there was one scene where she's literally sitting in a room, only woman in the room, 3 or 4 other men sitting in there, and they're all talking about her as if she's not there. And I was waiting for that one, the classic moment where she suddenly stands up for herself, and you can't talk about me like I'm not here, like that little bit of spitfire, that little bit of spunk, never happened. But then as the story goes on, she becomes much more of a badass and becomes much more stronger. So I appreciated that she didn't stay generic, demure ingenue that she was at the beginning. And despite the fact that it jumps the shark, there was a lot of delicious drama going into melodrama territory. And this is probably an overdone comparison even for me at this rate, but yes, it did kind of ring of a CW show, but in the best way. And it's definitely one of those books where you need to love this kind of genre to like this book because of how much it jumps the shark and because of all the sex scenes, because there's plenty of them. Most of them were well done. Most of them I enjoyed. There was one, a personal scene on the part of a romantic rival that I did not need. I don't ever want to see someone I don't like in a sex scene. Maybe that's just me, but like, if I don't like this person, I don't need to read about them naked. But beyond that, the sex scenes were appropriately steamy, and there was all of the appropriate feelings and attractions and descriptions there that I really appreciated. And that was kind of the whole point of it, was the romance and the melodrama and the sudden mysterious reveals was all done very well. There were some great fighting sequences that I really enjoyed, and really what impressed me the most was the ending. Now this is a duology, so I knew to a certain extent that our ending was likely to be one that left us off on a cliffhanger. And I'm not going to spoil it, but I will say that I felt that it was an ending that carried through with some threats of conflict that were introduced earlier on. Like, this is definitely a book that doesn't necessarily have a nice happy ending at the end. Now, of course, again, this is a duology, so there's every chance that it could end very happily in the next one. But I was really impressed, and I thought the ending was very bold and very much a case of the author being willing to follow through on the threats of conflict and the threats of troubles that she set up earlier in the story, which, with these kind of romances, isn't always the case. It's probably the biggest downfall of the genre, where they're really great at setting up gigantic issues and gigantic problems and then having them wrapped up real quick. This one did not. This one has some genuine big issues that it's going to have to solve in the second one, and I would genuinely be interested in reading that. So in general, I gave this book 4 stars, because yes, there are a lot of like little nitpicky things, but again, what this does well, it does very well. And I've just been in a mood for this kind of book recently. That good guilty pleasure, supernatural urban fantasy romance has just been my favorite recently for whatever reason. I actually have another on my review list that I will hopefully get to over the course of January. So if you like this genre, be on the lookout because I got some stuff planned. Now, if you are an indie author and you would like a video review like this one, please email me. I will have my email down in the description below. I will also have my review policy down there. Here's hoping the link is actually working now. Please read through that before you send the email. It answers a lot of questions and saves us a lot of time. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.